All right, so the final thing that I'll walk you through on the dashboard here is just a quick walkthrough of what SonarCube calls measures. And these are just some interesting ways of looking at things. So if you click on the Measures tab up here at the top under your project name, you're going to be able to see that things are grouped together. So you have reliability. Reliability is really kind of a measure of the bugs that you have in your code, and you can get an overview of that. Now, mine is not very interesting because number one, I don't have a lot of code in there, and number two, my project's not very old, so I don't have a lot of change over time in my project. If you have a large project, let's say you've got 20,000 lines of code, and you've been working on it for a couple of years, you're going to see a lot more information here. So it'll be much more interesting. But I can actually look and see, okay, on new code overall, I can see what's going on. I can drill down and see how many bugs exist in each individual file. I can see what my remediation effort is in here. I can see what my rating is by file. So I have the ability to drill down there. Security. So when you think bugs, or when you think reliability, think bugs. When you think security, think vulnerabilities. Okay, and you can see the same thing for that. Maintainability, think code smell or technical debt. That's your maintainability. It'll show me I've got an hour and 53 here, which it says is an A rating, not too bad. And it can show you overall I've got a B rating. So this is my new code. This is my old code. We can also look at coverage. Again, my project's not very big. I don't have automated unit testing, which is a very important measure of being able to deliver quality code. And there's plenty of topics there for an entire other course. But that's part of what I can get a view of here. My duplications, I can see anywhere that I have duplicated logic. The size. This is kind of a fun one because you can see how much code you have. You can see how many lines of code you have, how many lines total you have, and you can break it down by each individual file. You can see how many total statements you have, how many functions, classes, files, directories, how many comment lines, and how many comments. What percentage of your code is comments? 1% is pretty low. I highly recommend that you comment your code much better than I have in this case. You can also see the complexity, and you can see complexity by function, file, class, and your overall cognitive complexity or cyclomatic complexity. This is really going to be a measure of how many different control structures you have and how complicated your code is, how difficult it is to understand. You want a low cognitive complexity number if at all possible. Not always possible. You get into some really complicated business logic where you're having to deal with a bunch of different factors, but you generally want to try to find ways to keep that very low. And then you can see, of course, issues, new issues, and total issues. And again, it's broken down by file in this case. So you have a lot of things available to you. You can also, in most of these, you can actually drill down into some timelines. And again, my timelines are very boring because it's not a big project and it hasn't been around for very long. But at the very least, I can show you that this is available to you. So if you start to put your projects in here, you can make use of this. So that pretty much wraps up our review of the SonarCube dashboard. And the next thing we're going to talk about for a brief couple of minutes will be quality gates. And we'll talk about how to wrap this into your developer IDEs so that you can use your SonarCloud or SonarCube server instance with your IDEs.